I need a little country boy, a little slice of joy. Bell, it's you that I want, but it's him that I need. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Two of the biggest crimes ever perpetrated. Bell by Al Green. Bell by Al Green. Why don't nobody ever talk about Bell? A little country boy. Why don't nobody ever talk about Bell? You know what I mean? Now I know that there's a lot of y'all out there that are from the South. My family's from the South. A lot of y'all are in the South currently. You realize if I would have been born 40 miles to the south in Virginia, you realize how I would introduce myself as a little country boy. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. If I was born in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, a little country boy. That's what I was. I can't do it in Maryland. I can't do it in Maryland. All right. My energy is going to be a little different tonight. I did just record the new ending that unfortunately I can't. I'll probably use it tomorrow. I'm going to wake up at 500,000. I think at 100,000 and I think at 200,000, I try to be awake for it. And they all happen overnight. They all have happened overnight. And I try to stay up. And I was like, 5 is going to happen at some point on Tuesday. All I had to do, I told my wife on Saturday, I said, 500,000 going to happen on Tuesday. I looked at it. I was like, it's going to happen on Tuesday. All I have to do is not put out bombs on Sunday and Monday. And I'm going to put out 2 on Sunday. So I'm going to put out 2 on Sunday and 1 on Monday. I just need one of them to hit. I just need one of them to hit. I just need one of them to hit. And I was like, oh, this could be my 500,000 party. You know? No. Larry just said it's going to happen during the live. I don't think so. My wife has been saying she thinks it's going to happen during the live. We're at 595. No, that's going to happen overnight. That's going to happen overnight. The only way it would not happen overnight is if I went to bed early and woke up early. Then I might be back awake for it. But there you have it. I just recorded my ending. I did a little bit of research for that Regina is going to put into the newsletter. But do you realize? Here's a question to the chat. Where were we at a year ago? Do you realize where this channel was at July 1st of 2024? I've been supposed to be doing giveaways. I was supposed to be doing giveaways. I'm curious. Give me your best guess of where I was at of July 1st, 2024. Where were we at? I bet even Miss Ray don't know this. Pre 75 to 80. It was higher than that, but that's a pretty good guess. All right. Praying that Kamala would win. That's a good guess. That is a very good. Getting a haircut. Clearly not. 2000, Roberta. Wow. Actually, wow. Look at Nick. And Larry got it. And Larry got it. I passed 90,000. I passed 90,000 July 3rd of 2024. I passed 100,000 July 7th of 2024. So that means that a year ago, as long as I hit it before Thursday, I would have gone from 90 to 500 in a year, which is amazing. It's really amazing. And I very much appreciate all you guys. Larry, okay, Larry started watching before 100K. Okay. I definitely give a shout out to the OGs in my new ending. So shout out to all y'all. Shout out to the OGs. The Larrys and the B Humbles and the Super Villains and the Auntie Melanies and Kit and the Misfit Toys and Tennessee and all y'all. Shout out to all the OGs. As a nod to y'all, and also because it just so happened in the schedule, but it is very appropriate. We got a throwback episode tonight because a lot of you guys might remember that when I started, before I started making videos like that, I was just doing lives. I would do lives twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday. And one of my weekly lives was with my best friend, Brandon Victor Dixon, who you guys might know from Broadway. You might know him from Power. He's been in a ton of things. We actually went to high school together and went to college together. And we've been friends for 25 plus years at this point, which is sad and explains why I tripped over my slides earlier. It explains a lot of things that we've been friends that long. He's coming back on tonight. He will be my guest tonight. So we got a bit of a throwback episode. And so those of you that have been around that long, like Larry, you might remember that prior to doing these lives, we used to do a podcast back in the day, once upon a time, called Finding Morgan Freeman. And the idea behind Finding Morgan Freeman, it was basically a relationship podcast. We were trying to find the old wise black man inside of us. We had to work through all the toxicity to find the old wise black man inside of us. This was before Morgan Freeman had got in trouble, got accused. Morgan Freeman that was a pretty unobjectionable reference at that time. So we're going to bring him back on and we're going to talk some relationships and stuff like that. I appreciate you. I appreciate you make me laugh. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. I know I have some messages. We need Raskin Crockett more than ever. Speaking of Crockett and speaking of relationships, tomorrow's video most likely will be about, I don't know if you happen to see Jessie Waters say that she needs a man and try and hook her up with a white friend in DC. In the process of preparing for that video, I saw some conversation that was happening on the left about how her not being named the head of the oversight committee was a rebuke of her style. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to. I hit up on that while I was doing research. I was like, whoa. Okay, this feels like. You know what I mean? This feels like a place to be. The fourth in America. Nelly. I gotta save it. Hold on, I'm gonna put a note. I gotta bring that back. Nelly. The fourth in America. Okay. Oh man. You members have gotten a bunch of videos lately. Thank you, TP. Much appreciated. Much appreciated, TP. You members have gotten a bunch of videos lately, and you're going to get a rack more because I got a lot to talk about that is not ready for. I ain't trying to get in trouble right before I pass 500. I ain't trying to get in trouble. I got some things I got to talk about. I got notes up here too about what I want to talk about. One thing that I could use your help on is I'm working on a video for the 4th, since I mentioned Nelly. I'm working on a video for the 4th about the contradictions, the MAGA contradictions of their idea of patriotism, right? So I bring it up in the course of specific videos. So if we're talking about the will of the people, right? The will of the people, all of this gerrymandering and all of this voter intimidation, voter suppression. It could be things like what we saw with the BBL bill, where clearly it's unpopular. The idea of the will of the people and subverting the will of the people is an example of how MAGA contradicts their ideas of patriotism in America. The First Amendment, right? Where they talk about if you don't like this country, why don't you leave? Or applauding them going after protesters, using the military against protesters, things of that nature. First Amendment, church and state, right? How they're talking about trying to get Bibles into the schools and funneling money to these religious charter schools, things like that. Contradictions. I'm collecting contradictions of MAGA's idea of patriotism, because what I really want to do is drop a fresh turd on their unseasoned celebration. Okay? Because they've been laying in the weeds, hating on Juneteenth with dry chicken in the freezer that they've been leaving in there to bring out on July 4th. And what I want to do is take a whole canister of Lowry's. I want to take a whole canister of Lowry's, pull the top off of it, and just dump it right on the chicken. I just want to drop a fresh, you know what I mean? I just want to ruin MAGA July 4th and hold up a whole mirror and tell them about themselves. So I would love suggestions from y'all. If you have ideas of MAGA hypocrisy and their conception of patriotism. Tammy, in honor of the 500K, we're going ahead and Reese. Reese being a Don. Thank you, Tammy. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Tammy. Tammy is my 3 a.m. Tammy's my 3 a.m. friend. When I drop, when the videos finally go up, she's one of the only people that's commenting on it. Like at that time before I go to sleep. Shout out to you, Tammy. Probably won't happen tonight though, because I think that Crockett video won't be ready till the morning. Giggles, happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday to Roberta. Happy birthday, Roberta. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Shaw Money, best platform and community. Stop recording. What'd you do? You stopped recording? What did you stop recording? You know, I was just watching YouTube the other day that talked about the return of piracy and how rampant piracy was in the early 2000s, and it went away when all the streaming, you know, when the emergence of Spotify and Apple Music, when they got their act together. But based on what's happening with sports right now and movies, how it's like made a huge return, and I was so disappointed. You know what I mean? It's because it's kind of like when if I would have been a decent athlete in high school, I wasn't, but if I would have been a decent athlete in high school and you see all this money that people are making and you like, I never should have gave up the game. You know what I mean? I never should have gave up the game. It's kind of how I feel about that podcast that me and Brandon used to do about finding Morgan Freeman. When you see how much money can be made for being toxic online as dudes. I'm like, we never should have gave up the game. You know, we never should have gave up the game. But when I see the return of piracy, and I'll be like, I had the whole, you know what I mean? I like, they ain't know about me. They ain't know about me. I used to go to the barbershop and the DVD man come offer me something. I'll offer you something. What you want? What you want? What you want? Huh? What you want? Because I got it. Trust me, I got it. I was like that in my day. I wish there was a place for people with that set of skills later on in life, and it just doesn't appear to be. There doesn't appear to be a use for my expertise, and that saddens me. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Kristen. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Cassie, thank you so much. Thank you, Cassie. I very much appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let me see what you guys were talking about. We got Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Miss Ray. I know we got some good suggestions on the MAGA trash patriotism. Oh, the flag is another one too. Oh, well, obviously disrespect of veterans in the military. That's a very low-lying one. That's an easy one. And then when you remember how you used to go crazy with Colin Kaepernick talking about the flag, but then all of a sudden they want to hold up Trump American flags. Yeah. Or even the stars and bars for that matter. That works too. Karen, thank you so much, Karen. Thank you. Miss Ray, I think we might have to collect people's suggestions for Kristen's a 3 a.m.er. Yep, 3 a.m. Shout out my 3 a.m. And yeah, they do be made in China too. We definitely know that. You definitely know that. Now, I'll be honest, I gotta give you guys a heads up, and I'm giving Brandon a heads up too, because he's ready to come in. My energy a little different today than it normally is. And the reason for that is because typically my schedule on a live day, I wake up, I eat, I caffeinate, I work, my family comes home, I eat with them, and then I recaffeinate to do the live. That's normally how that works. Today, however, we had a guy come to look at the air conditioner, which is the reason why you're going to get a flood of videos shot at night. It was so hot in this room, I had to shoot at night. It was a couple of days I had to shoot in polos. I was this close to going to t-shirts. Honestly, hey, y'all might, if we don't work things out financially with this AC guy, you might see an A shirt. You know what I mean? You might see an A shirt. Is that hot? Is that bad? We had somebody come look at the AC, and he came before I could eat. And by the time he was gone, it was like 3:00. And at that point, I'm like, I'm starving. So I'm like, I got to eat, but there's like not enough time for me to go up and down and all that stuff. So I said, hey, I'm just going to have to eat as much as I can and then caffeinate and just try and ride it. And just, you know what I mean? Just try. Do you want to ride? No, Aries, you ride on time. Ride the white horse. Riding the white horse at my age is cold brew. So I'm riding. If I get a little loopy, you know what I mean? Normally I'll be at like a 4 when the live starts and I get to 10. No, we at 10. We at 10. Do you want to ride? I know that song is, people were probably not as active when they were rocking to that song. Ride the white horse. Because hashtag just say no is what the First Lady Reagan said. We 80s baby. We are 80s babies. And then I found out what they did on the streets of DC. Okay, we don't talk about that. No, talk about that. We're not here to talk about that. Thank you, Treva. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And yes, we will do. This is criminality and deflection started under Reagan. Well, a lot of things. Yeah, a great number of things. Fox News. That's another one that started under Reagan. Someone get Reese. I might need it to go back down to sleep tonight. Okay. We will be doing a Miss Ray. If anybody sent any good suggestions for Maga Patriotism, if you could collect those and send them to me, you can keep sending them throughout the live as well. I will probably be doing July 4th. I'm definitely going to do a BBL. I got a BBL video I want to do. A BBL bill. BBL Jersey. Somebody said in the premiere they loved that part, and as did I. I put that in myself. The editor cannot take responsibility or accountability for that. That was me. That was your boy. He edited a very serious, hard-hitting video about Elon Musk, and then he watches it and he says, BBL Jersey, right in the middle of it. That's how I did that. I know they'd be mad. It's like I sent him a perfect edit, and he put people. Anyway, the best BBL in history. I don't even want to mention it. I got a BBL video coming up. Just be on the lookout. It's been on my mind for quite some time, so just be on the lookout for that. We will do a live celebration for the 500K. The natural day to do it is Friday because that's typically when y'all like to do that, but that is July 4th. So, I don't know if y'all want to be on live on July 4th. So talk about something that's not July 4th, but so it might be Saturday. We'll see. I'll put it out to you guys. I'll put a poll out. Thank you. Much appreciated. We are one thing. I see a lot of congratulations from you guys. It is much appreciated. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, we're gonna start it like that. Yeah, we definitely gonna start it like that. You know how we get down, Tammy. All right. Now before I bring in my man's, let me get my headphones together. The best video in history. Is there anything else that I need to mention before we go? No, that'd be about it. Yep, special members live. Yep. All right. Now, without further ado, as I mentioned, we got a throwback guest. Technically, the first guest. I know Francesca Ramsey was the first guest since we started doing these in this way, in this format, on a regular basis. But technically, the first guest was my man I'm about to bring on, of Finding Morgan Freeman fame. A guy I've known for 25 plus years, which is why my leg hurts. And it's also why this belt that I have holding up these shorts is real, like it's like right here with my navel. It's like right here with my navel. And I said I would never. You see middle-aged dudes on the street, you like, that's crazy. You don't got nobody to talk to them about that? Well, now I understand. It's about comfort in an evolving body is what it's about. Without further ado, my man, Brandon Victor Dixon. What's happening, sir?
What to the slave is the 4th of July, my friend?
Yes, sir. What is going on, man? I'm able to join us.
I'm well. Thank you for having me back. Hello to the world.
Now, this is totally random, but I just had to bring this up so I don't forget. But Brandon's, your initial professional foray is in the Lion King on Broadway, correct?
I mean, I suppose it really depends on how you define initial professional foray, but sure.
Well, it was Bread and Roses, but it was Bread and Roses, and then it was the Lion King on Broadway.
That was semi-pro. Bread and Roses was semi-pro.
So Brandon, we're in Columbia together. He left to go do Lion King, and so you are just tied to Lion King mentally in my brain. We showed my kids Lion King for the first time this weekend. So you were on my mind then, knowing that you were coming on in 2 days. I can tell you this, but we did the whole thing with the circle of life. Holding my son over the thing. Yeah, I did the whole thing.
Obligatory. It's obligatory.
You got to hold your child, for the circle of life. And then they kept saying, "Do it again." I was like, I'm starting to sweat, and I just got my hair cut. I don't want to sweat up my enhancements. Wow. So one of the reasons why we wanted to show specifically my daughter The Lion King was because, and I feel like an idiot in saying it, but of course, Aaron, yes, he did. Yes, that is true. That is correct. One of the reasons why we wanted to show specifically my daughter The Lion King is because she is princess obsessed. She's just princess obsessed. It is Asha, and it is Belle, and it is it's Frozen, and it's Rapunzel, and she just walks around. She's just princess. She literally walks around with a crown on. And meanwhile, I spend the lion's share of my day tearing down all that represents. Like I have made my bones. You're going to go to school based on my successes in tearing down all that represents. So for me to go downstairs and see the crowns and all,
it's what fuels you as the capitalist corruption of the world infects even your own home.
My own home, even my own home. So in order to get away from that, we decided to show her The Lion King, and like an idiot, like 2 minutes into the movie, I was like, but he's a king though. But he's a king. Like, why?
Now, he is a king, but the film does talk about really representation as a means of service. You have a responsibility here. You're not here to, because Scar was the corruption of that. Scar is taking advantage. Scar has no responsibilities. They all have to serve him. But Mufasa is different than that. Mufasa was trying to tell Simba, no, the reason you have to come back is because we have a responsibility to care for, to lead our people, to care for one another, to take care of one another, not to take advantage of them so that they serve us, to lead.
That's true. I don't disagree with anything that you said. I hated, and it doesn't help that, and this is unpopular, and I don't know why this is an unpopular opinion, but I remember watching the live action of The Lion King with my wife. I think we went to see a screening, the one that Beyonce was in, and I was just appalled at the brattiness of young Simba, like appalled. I couldn't. I was like, how did I not clock this the first time when I was watching it? Now, granted, I was pretty young, but I was like, he's the worst.
I mean, he's
the worst. And even so in this rewatch, right? In this rewatch, I believe the blame that gets thrown his way with Mufasa is overblown. Like, I think he was more just being a kid and he was tricked by Scar. I'm not throwing that at him, but taking that away, he's not in the animated version, the original animated version. He's not remotely decent to any. He's Don Jr. He's Don Jr. He doesn't have a single interaction.
He's an immature kid.
But he's decent to anybody. I was like,
that's the whole point. He's entitled and immature, and then he has this traumatic experience, and he runs away from all responsibilities, and then he finds people who will affirm that within him, and then somebody who's responsible, who is a leader from his own family, comes to him and is like, wake up, you cannot continue to be this. Jon Snow, when will you kill the boy within you so that the man can be born? and that's, he has to grow and he has to learn. A lot of us have to do that. Would that we did. Most of us choose not to.
I don't disagree with that. What I was saying is, you did no work to emotionally tie me to this protagonist. No work.
Did you go rewatch the cartoon? I never saw the live action.
Yeah,
I don't remember him being like completely obnoxious, but yeah, he was an immature.
He wasn't over the top. He wasn't over the top. Like, they didn't make him like an 80s movie villain, but he just wasn't likable ever. Like, he's trying to disobey his parents. He's walking around bragging about being the king to Scar and to all of the other random people. And I was like, what like, where? So this is the guy I'm supposed to root.
Did you finish the film?
Yeah.
So did you see how he learns from his mistakes?
He doesn't know. I'm talking about young Simba. I'm specifically talking about young Simba. But you have to root me in the character.
Well,
like, you have to give me a reason to root for him.
Obviously, they succeeded to some extent.
No, it's Mufasa residual. It's Mufasa residual. That's all it is.
It's all you, man.
What is post Mamdani Cuomo primary New York City been like?
I mean, that question can only pertain to the online world because New York City is the same. But I mean, I think.
Well, I would say generally that's true, but in this case, for Mamdani to go from polling at less than 1% to actually winning the primary means there's like a real shift that is happening in New York City that there's
a shift that is present, but I mean, it's just as far as, I mean, it doesn't feel dramatically different from how New York generally shifts. Now, yes, he defeated Cuomo, and that signaled some in the primary, and that signaled a big shift for New Yorkers and for how New Yorkers vote. But it is the primary. There was a big shift in kind of the volume of younger New Yorkers who came out to vote. So there is a lot of energy from younger New Yorkers that I think is that is a thing. But a lot of it also, I really think a lot of it, and I'm part of this. A lot of it is also just response to continued negative response to establishment Democrats and to the establishment Democratic Party and the overt Islamophobia and prejudice that they're willing to exert when it comes to Muslim candidates or candidates that they have not approved of when they're running in races. So really kind of Cuomo's whole approach, and then the fact that he was receiving all these endorsements from establishment Democrats and these kind of mega donors who are independent or really, right-wing individuals, but were seeking so hard to prevent the potential for someone who represents the things that Mamdani, says he represents to come to power. I mean, I think that was a lot of the response, was just a backlash, a rejection of the overreach from the establishment to try and quash out this new perspective.
I saw a really interesting article that was written by one of, I guess, somebody that worked with de Blasio, one of de Blasio's aides or something like that. And it was titled like Lessons for Mamdani from de Blasio. And essentially conceding that de Blasio had made missteps. It wasn't making him out to be, any sort of saint or anything like that. All she was saying was that here's somebody who is trying to push the party further to the left, but has these ideas that are rejected by establishment Democrats, which meant that he had to deal with these headwinds that were coming from the right, but also from the inside. And because he wasn't as plugged in as, say, establishment families, say like the Cuomos, because he isn't as plugged in, he doesn't have that kind of political infrastructure on the ground that can mobilize this kind of, negative messaging, which you've seen out about Mamdani, and, get these sorts of endorsements and things like that. It's like the game of politics, like the stuff that is denounced anytime we talk about cleaning up politics, but so much of it is still in place.
Yeah.
And it makes it non-viable, even though you might have the ideas, right? And you might be able to get a critical mass of people to vote for you. It makes your actual tenure non-viable. She was saying that's what happened with de Blasio, was that he's got his legs shut out from under him by all these sorts of people who ultimately didn't want to see this kind of movement.
Yeah, I mean that tends to happen in politics. It's the reason why our system has great difficulty taking any sorts of real strides forward in an evolutionary sense. In terms of becoming a more cohesive whole and a more united whole. Anytime you get people who are anti-establishment in there, it's also one of the reasons why that conversation about the power of the vote and how divorced are our votes from making tangible impacts on the system. Even when your vote is able to make an impact to get somebody in there who might be anti-establishment, the establishment is so large and so entrenched that more often than not, they are co-opted or expunged, one or the other. It's the huge problem that a lot of AOC's original progressive fan base has had with her tenure since she's gotten into Congress. They feel like she's really capitulated to the Democratic establishment and abandoned many of her core, most principles, progressive values. That's an argument that they make, and I think it is a thing that you tend to see. And look, it is politics, right? It is politics. When you run on certain platforms, and then everybody tends to pivot towards the center. So that's politics, but it is hard to change the system.
This is what my pushback would be, though. The pushback from right of left is that you keep elevating the level of the purity test that you subject people to, where you force anything that actually is viable to fail said test. Because when it comes to somebody like AOC, I'm not going to say that I haven't had disagreements or object to some things that AOC has done. The woman is moving around the country trying to push for campaign finance reform and talking about how she doesn't take money, and riding with Bernie Sanders, pointing the fingers at the 0.1% and trying to be bipartisan, was exactly what the F any opposition needs to be doing. Like, what do you want her to do that would still have her be electable for you to say that to her? Like,
well, that's
take a win, progressives. Take a win.
I think that's the thing that they say. It's like, where's the bar, right, to become electable? And how far do you have to compromise your values or abandon the core who got you to where you are to become electable? And how much do you get when you abandon those things? I think that's what the debate tends to be over her, and the big question is from her.
Well, so okay, so let's. I would liken it to this, right? And I think you can identify with this as a black man and as a public figure, right? So at some point, like when I came to DC and I was going to do the Get Up DC, right, the news show, at some point I had to figure out, on a scale of Stephen from Django. Oh, I missed you, sir. On a scale of Stephen from Django to us talking at 4 a.m. Okay, in the Heights, right? Which is a dive bar near. On a scale, I had to pick a number. In terms of exactly like where I want to be. But the thing is, you can't actually pick 10 because nobody is employable at 10. Nobody's employable at 10. That's why we have an idea of code switching, right? That's why you look busy when your boss comes around. Nobody can pick 10.
You're liking it code switching to looking busy when your boss comes around.
Well, I'm just saying, nobody, you can't pick 10. That's not an option.
Oh,
It's not an option. So it's just a matter of where you choose to be. Now, somebody might pick 8 or 7. Somebody might pick 8, and all of a sudden everybody's paying attention to this guy that's just so real and like hitting on all the third rails, and this guy just rose to popularity so quickly, but have it be short-lived versus somebody that picks 7 or 6 and doesn't say any of the stuff that guy is saying in that way, but says a lot of the same things, who's on the air for 30 years. You know what I mean? So you have to, right. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm not saying what's right or wrong.
That's what you have to weigh. That's the debate.
That's
the way, and that's what you have to weigh. And I think the question also becomes, but let me ask. So, because I think someone will say, okay, but what if, because the margins become fine too, because but what if the establishment is at 6 and the establishment is not moving forward? The establishment is receding. So that means in order for you to have any kind of effect, maybe you have to go to 7 or 8, and maybe you have to try to figure out where that is. Or maybe you're at 6 90% of the time, but 10% of the time you're at 8. And there are certain things, I think we've gotten to a place, and whether this makes sense or not, is practical or not, I do think we've gotten to a place where the lack of integrity in government and the lack of integrity in the words of politicians is just at a point where there are certain lines that people have. People have red lines, with certain issues. And I think a lot of people wanted, this is what I hear from progressives, that they wanted from the squad or from the progressive caucus what the kind of far right Republicans got out of the Tea Party. I think that's the kind of efforts they wanted to change the system and to change the party. And there are a couple opportunities that are talked about that they feel were really missed, that are an indication of either not that necessarily this person is false or lying, but but question how effective they're going to be able to be in creating a change. Because I think the number one thing is whether that's what people are looking for, is a change. And so if things are going to maintain, then they throw the toys out of the pram and they run to the other side for the most part.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the other things, I found a way as best I could to tie as many of these topics I wanted to bring up with you to things that are going on. But like when you bring up the squad, you actually kind of remind me of a place that I was going to go later, which is Jasmine Crockett. I don't know if you've been paying attention to Jasmine Crockett and her stuff that she's been doing and saying and whatnot, but she has dealt with a lot of internal blowback from the Democratic Party for being as unfiltered as she has been in opposition to Maga. My stance on this,
unfiltered in the nature of her opposition, or unfiltered in the content of her opposition? That's my question.
Both.
Okay.
Both. My stance has been my wild objection to so much of what I'm seeing and hearing. I want to see reflected in the people that I would say have the power to stop it. They may not, but the people who are supposed to have the power, the people that have a bigger voice and a bigger platform, I would like to see my anger and frustration channeled through them. I don't exactly care what form it takes. I'm trying to see action and I'm trying to see energy. Like if you can't stop the thing, I at least need to know that you're as angry as I am about the thing, and that you're trying to get the word out about the thing and the ramifications of the thing. What I don't want is to see you trying to play this old gentleman's political game and saying, we'll wait until 2026. We're just going to take an ass whooping. We're just going to play rope-a-dope until 2026. It was like, well, you saw how that worked long term, right?
Right.
You saw how that worked long term.
Yeah, exactly. Status quo. But that's the position you are in that argument. But that is, again, the kind of thing that certain people would say about a certain other candidates. They want to see more of that energy from an AOC or from a Bernie Sanders when it really mattered, or there are people who would say that is what they wanted from these people when they get into these positions, with the knowledge that it risks that they won't have them for long, but also with the potential that maybe it does something is their question, because they don't want to just status quo. But everybody's perspective on what is status quo and what is really satisfying their desire to be represented in the fight is a little different.
I would also say that one thing that I feel like needs to be articulated more often from the progressive flank is one of the conversations I had with my mother, right? One of the conversations we've had is because she's always trying to push me to be better, right? She's always trying to push me to, be the best version of myself that I can be in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And how that manifests itself is a lot of correction. It's a lot of negative reinforcement.
Yes.
Well, okay, yeah. So all right, yeah. By the way, my mother, when she used to, when I wouldn't answer the phone because I probably hadn't woken up for the day yet, she would call Brandon with regularity to ask where I was. This went on through my 20s. Started probably in college. But
you talked to Mark today?
Yeah. So it manifests itself in a lot of negative reinforcement. And so that comes with the understanding of the love that is inherent in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual content of our relationship is a lot of negative reinforcement. It's like all these things are either unspoken or spoken to such a tiny degree of the correction that you can start to your brain can start to question the actual nature of that relationship. You get what I'm saying?
Mm.
So as this relates to the far left flank, I think one of the frustrations that I have had is the consistent coming for the Democrats, which isn't to say they don't deserve it, but it comes with little to no, and in some cases, no acknowledgement of what's happening over on the right. It's no different than the wild double standard that we saw at play last year, where Trump gets to do something disqualifying weekly, but we're going through Kamala's record like she can't slip up once in a 90-minute speech, but he gets to ramble and call it the weave. He gets to brand not making sense. Like, that's the level of double standard that we're operating with, and that's what's at play with MAGA, but I see it at play on the far left flank as well.
Look, I don't disagree with you, but I think a lot of people would say, and perhaps to their own demise, but the people say it's like, yes, but you want to hold, you seek to be critical of the people who say they're going to represent you, who say they're going to do certain things for you. And so you're going to be more critical of them when they fall short of those goals than you are going to be of the person who's over here who's never said they were going to represent you. It stands up on a daily basis and says, I don't really give a damn about you. So you're going to accept that person is over there. So the person who says they're on your team, you're going to hold to a certain standard.
But that's what I'm saying. You can hold them to a certain standard because you perceive them to be generally a more benevolent force in the world. That needs to be stated and understood. like when we're coming in cold and your only objection is, well, you sound like a red hat. That's what you sound like. That's what they say. So that is what I'm getting from the far left flank.
I think from the far left, and I think being absolutist about a lot of these things is pretty ridiculous. But I think from the far left, like I said, and people have it on the far right too. But there are certain red lines. But you have to figure out if your red lines are to your benefit or to your detriment. Because like you, I'm not going to completely agree with almost anybody that I vote for or anybody that I deal with. But I have to decide if ultimately where I can draw my line. And if they're going to break certain standards, it might mean that it's a wash for everything else. And if they're going to be able to make certain steps by becoming more centrist or compromising on certain things, then I can understand that. But I think a lot of times people will say they feel like the approach from Democrats or they feel like the approach from progressives who get into the Democratic establishment is always a capitulation, and a capitulation that fails to change the party fundamentally and fails to advance the Democratic Party or advance Democratic values versus the Republican Party or conservative values at large. And I think objectively, that is certainly something we've been seeing over the last couple of years.
Now, just turning the page a little bit on because I'm going to let you go because I definitely it's been good to chop it up with you. Now, one of the things we used to do in prep school, we used to Joan, right? Which, by the way, Joning, is Joning a universal term? I feel like I can't use it with people that are not from the DMV.
It's not universal. It's because it's Jonin or Jonin or carrying. Carrying is not a universal either. Jonin goes further, but okay. I mean, I think the older catch-all term was is it playing the dozens? Is that what they
playing the dozens is like but see the difference between playing the dozens is like your mama's so fat, right? But Joning was like, nah, but look at your mom. You know what I mean?
It got more sophisticated. It became more harder, but it's the same thing.
It's the difference between party jokes that comedians used to tell back in the 60s.
Oh, you think it used to be benevolent, now it's combat?
Yes. Yes. And then Richard Pryor talking about being on crack. Like that's the like you could be outmaneuvered in playing the dozens, but when you're Joning, your life is deconstructed. Like you have to walk away with the things that were said.
Yeah, it far more easily come to blows.
I'm sitting here watching Elon Musk come for Donald Trump again a second time, and try and have legitimate policy discussion about Trump's bill after he said he was on the Epstein list. I'm like, bruh, like you just want to come back like you didn't, no, you don't get to. It would be like if somebody said the thing at dinner while we were joning and then afterwards just tried. Do you know how many Koreans tried with me all the time?
It's like whatever Draymond said to Kevin Durant. There was no whatever he said. It was never the same.
Was anything ever said that changed the nature of your relationship with someone?
Ever said? Nah, nobody. First of all, I avoided those kinds of sessions on a general basis, and I managed to be fairly successful at it. So, I never had any intense conflicts with people in that manner. Nah, nobody's ever said anything to like make me change the relationship. Not in that way. Not in like a clowning session or anything like that.
I just find the mindset so wild because we understand that X is like a right-wing platform at this point in time. So these are all MAGAs and Trump voters for the most part that populate that thing. How do y'all process what he said about your mans and then just put it back and then just put it back? Like either he thinks that and he was just fine with it this whole time. That was something that he was willing to let ride. Apparently, he was just holding it to until he was on the ropes and joning. Like he was holding it like a big joker, or he's full of it and can't be trusted in any way, which makes this entire thing a farce. Like there's no middle ground on that.
I think this entire thing's a farce either way, but I think what's going on between them, I think this is the thing for me, and it's this, we've talked about this before, it's this slavish devotion to the person you voted for that you're willing to just excuse any and all behavior, no matter what it indicates about the individual's lack of integrity, lack of honesty, lack of ability. And that's wild to me because it's self-harm at like an extremely high level.
We should add that, Ms. Ray. We should add that to the patriotism contradictions. I have seen so much of that. I have seen so much of that where you vote and you literally don't hold the person accountable for anything. So I'm like, okay, so what were you voting for then? I guess they're not even accountable to the things that he told you he was going. He doesn't even have to do that.
Now it is human nature. I will say black people do it. Be like, yo, we can talk about it at home. Don't talk about
black people do what?
It's like we'll talk about that amongst us. We'll take care of that in house. We're not gonna put that on blast in the public. And we don't that's black people's business. We can keep that in the house. I think people do that a lot, but
I think black people, we also have the I don't know if this exists. I definitely it's not with white people, but I guess I would have to talk to more Latinos and Asians. This just inexplicable tie that we feel towards one another, where the knowledge and understanding that the dude wilding out on the subway train is going to make some of them racist. Like they're going to feel this way about me because of what you did. And knowing that, however, when I move, I'm carrying the weight of 400 years of progress. And when I decide what number to pick, I know that this is going to influence all the people who come behind me.
Just look at them.
Yeah. I said, I can't tell you how many times I've seen something and I'm like, they're going to be racist now. They're going to be racist now because of that.
Well,
so
they don't really need help or incentive.
Yeah,
but sure.
That's true.
Like, oh no, this might push them over the edge. This might trigger behavior in them with the likes of which we've never seen before.
What was I just watching? Oh, I was just watching. I just did a video about Erica Donald's, Byron Donald's wife. She's big on school choice, but she was talking about affirmative action and how much it's hurt black people because all the black people now get questioned whether or not they deserve to be there and part of a quota system. And I was like, now I see why she's involved in education, because I didn't know that racism didn't exist until affirmative action. Apparently,
right, exactly.
Black people were just dominating the ranks of the government and all the Fortune 500 companies, and nobody ever questioned their qualifications. That's nuts. I didn't realize affirmative action did that. I did want to get into. So I mentioned Jasmine Crockett earlier, and there's a video from Fox News where Jesse Waters tries to hook her up with a man, because the assertion is that she needs a man. She needs a D. That's what he was saying, which is apparently perfectly fine to say on Fox News. She said he's a white man. Hopefully that's not a problem, but I think it would be good for you because it can teach you to hate everybody. It can teach you not to hate everybody who's not like yourself. So apparently this white man is supposed to be doing her a service by making her not racist. There was a number of different places. Yes, your confusion is correct. Your confusion is correct. And that's why you didn't see it, because you don't regularly watch it. But that's what goes on there apparently. So what was fascinating? Do you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe I could have got away with one. I was going to keep talking.
That is unique. A white man is not everyone's solution to racism. But all right.
I mean,
he prescribed.
Honestly, why would a white man not be Fox News's solution to just ... Like it's like Mad Libs. It is just the solution. I find it to be fascinating. I don't know that offer would have been extended had it been towards.
No, sir. You do
Hakeem
know that. You do know that offer would not have been extended.
I don't know that Hakeem Jeffries would have gotten that offer. It is interesting how that is like perceived, like it operates in a different, like it's still interracial, but it like exists in this other nether region with people's perceptions of it. But we saw it at play last year with Kamala to like a certain degree, but like a lot of people would bring up the fact that gets perceived differently depending on who's interracial and who's not. Why do you think that is?
The perception based on, like, why do I think it's perceived differently when women are in interracial relations, or like black women are dating outside the race than white men? Well, it depends on the perspective in which you're looking at it. You know, from like just in the situation you presented, Jesse Waters
that just made me laugh.
Well, Jesse Waters feels that he is leveling up Jasmine Crockett, whereas generally speaking, when a black man is dating a white woman, they see it as her being sullied in some way, shape, or form. So that's that different paradigm. If you're talking about within our community, I mean, I think it's viewed the kind of the same from both men and women, right? Like women don't like seeing it when black men are dating white women, and black men don't love seeing it, generally speaking, when black women are dating outside the race either. And so, and it's a similar jealousy sort of thing.
You know what it might be? Actually, you said, like, right at the beginning of our conversation where you were talking about the difference between discourse online and in life, real world discourse. Because I don't disagree with you that black men, if you are with them, if you're having a conversation with them, somebody say, "Careful, Reese. These are troubles. these are trouble waters." I think one of the differences might be that I don't think the feelings of black men actually vary. They probably are a lot less likely to voice those opinions online, or at least in like an open forum. They're probably less likely to be clocking and really caring about it. So I think maybe that's what it is.
I think that's certainly true. The men are less likely to be clocking that on a regular basis and discussing it in a forum. But I also think black women are generally more verbal, so they're going to be expressing these things and talking these things. And also, because somebody posted this online, they were talking about like why when we talk about this subject, does nobody mention the fact they're always on black men about dating outside the race or dating white women, but they don't talk about the fact that there's a greater percentage of black women who date outside the race than there are of black men. And I was like, one of the things that they're talking about specifically is not that black men dating outside the race or dating white women. It's that black men who get into positions of power or fame at a disproportionate rate date them, and that becomes the particular arena for that. I think for that side of the conversation when it comes to black men dating white women or dating outside the race.
Where can I follow Brandon? You want to drop your socials real quick?
It's in my name, Brandon V. Dixon.
So it's at Brandon V. Dixon on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can tell you that, not that I watch like the draft or anything like that with regularity, but when I have seen the clips, as a member of the tribe, find myself frustrated with how crowded it's getting. I find myself like, word.
Y'all are drafting too many folks.
Yeah, I was like,
you gotta pick too many players.
Yeah, we got. It's only one ball. You know what I mean? It's only one ball. I was like, hey, really? Half the first round? Really? Half? Whatever. I can't say nothing.
I remember. I think we talked about this before, but I remember there was like a viral a picture after France won the World Cup a couple of years ago of the French team celebrating on the bus with their wives and girlfriends, and it was just a row of African dudes and a bunch of white women, and people just kept posting that thing everywhere. And I looked at it and I was like, except for like N'Golo Kante, he was rocking a system.
Okay, he had a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
That can't feel good. That can't feel good.
To us as spectators or one of them, they looked like they felt great. I'll be honest with you.
For me, I have, matter of fact, my man Randolph, who was on last week. I remember one of the funniest conversations we had, because he was one of the writers on the show, and we used to talk about getting together all the time. And I remember one time he's like, "Yeah, man, we should go out, do a double date, like with our, bring our wives and this, that, and the other thing." And I was like, why don't we just go? I don't like that.
So on this, just what do you think of, particularly because you are a person who stands in opposition to the indictment, but what do you think of that argument or when people talk about it's impossible to be like a black revolutionary or to truly be down for the eradication of anti-blackness and advancing black people forward at large if you've dated outside of the race, or you're marrying outside of the race, or you've met particularly a white woman? Like, how do you, because you certainly stand in stark contrast to that, because obviously people see the way you speak and you think and the content you put forward, you're able to fervently represent those issues, but even like you said, even you still, when you see pictures like this, you see things like, you be like, so like, what do you think of that assertion? What do you think of that question?
Yeah, I'll be watching my son very closely. because I see the way that things could go in the next generation.
He's got to arc you back to the mean.
I could be lost entirely if they don't go a certain route.
They gotta come close. They gotta bring you back to center.
Yeah. So my main thought, I have two thoughts. My main thought is that you see interracial relationships all the way from Candace Owens to Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? Mm-hmm. You see them all the way from Clarence Thomas to, W. Kamau Bell. There's interracial relationships at each point in the spectrum of Black consciousness. Mm-hmm. So what I would conclude from that alone is that a partner is not an indicator of whether or not somebody is the partner choice is not an indicator of somebody's relationship with their blackness or with the black community at large. That's the conclusion that I would take from that, and that is something that gives me solace in my own space. My second thought, however, is the one thing that I can't really argue with. The one part of that of the characterization of people in interracial relationships I can't argue with. The people who say, well, your greatest legacy is your lineage, and it is about not only what you do for black people, but like outwardly, but what you do for black people that come behind you and follow you. And that is an example of black love for you to create progeny in your image and teach them to do the thing that you do. And that's the part that I do struggle with. So it actually has less to do with my wife specifically and more has to do with my children, because, you know, while I can divorce my my individual romantic choice from how I perceive myself and how I perceive my people, there are ramifications of that choice that affect what I'm putting back into that, like directly in terms of people. Right. Yeah. Now, technically, they are black people. They are people of color, but now they have a choice. They could take me off the board completely. Yeah, they could take me off the board. So, you know, that's the part of it that is really kind of at odds with the first part, to be perfectly honest. But that, you know, that's how I feel.
Okay.
Now I'm trying to look at the oh, by the way, I got some I'm like way behind in these. I apologize because I know you guys have been. Hey Chad, I know you asked a minute ago for the link to join. Hopefully Ms. Ray put that out, but if not, hopefully we can put that out for you. Thanks to you, Michael. That is much appreciated. Shout out to Benita. TP said, I'm still waiting on that soul food from last year, 4th, Reese. Now we're on 4th of 2025. We help a brother out. Somebody said they was going to send you a plate. It wasn't me. This is dangerous season for me because this is when everybody tries to offer you a plate. And as you know, I don't just be eating anybody food. You know, I'm a chain guy. I'm a chain guy. Sin, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Sin. Sonia, thank you. If you're a recipient of one of Sonia's gifts, send her some love and a shout out. Chaotic, thank you. Thanks once again, Chaotic. Hey, it was also without some of the black vote. Yes, this actually, I think she posted because it was this long ago when this comment was posted. I think this was it when we were having the Mamdani conversation. And what it made me think about is, you know, one of the black conservatives' favorite lines is, well, black people by nature are conservative. That they love to say black people by nature are conservative. I don't know how they feel about stripping birthright citizenship and things of that nature and due process. I don't know if they're that conservative to just rubber stamp whatever Trump is doing. But what we will say is they do find themselves on the conservative end of the Democratic gene pool, on the Democratic side of things.
Oh, yeah.
Black voters. That matter of fact, when I was talking to Rod the other day, it was black voters in the South that came and rescued Biden's, presidency. And it was, so I think what she was talking about was Mamdani and the fact that Cuomo got an overwhelming. I saw a crazy stat of the percentage of the black vote that Cuomo got, like 70% or something crazy. that he got in New York City.
I didn't know that, but I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why this last election was one of the worst for Black people in generations. You know, it's because the Republicans proved and made it clear that they don't need Black people to win, and the Democrats went out and proved that they don't have to cater to Black people to get them to vote for them, and they still lost. And so that means that going out in the next cycle, the Republicans definitely are going to try to campaign towards Black people because they didn't need them to win to begin with, and the Democrats got them to vote for them even though they didn't offer them or really campaign towards them, and they still lost. So they're not going to cater towards them going forward. They're going to be looking at other demographics and other constituencies. So we out in the cold.
On the Republican side of things, I find the political math really interesting because Trump was able to carry a much larger percentage of the Latino vote than anybody thought possible. Nonsensically, while
not anybody thought possible, but then a lot of people thought was logical. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Sure. Anybody thought it was possible. So that being the case, then one might think, okay, well, Trump, look, I know it's wild they voted for you when you were wild racist towards. I know it doesn't make sense, but you have a good solid block of voters here who could turn into like longtime Republican voters. So like that whole mass deportation, if that, you know what I mean? Like why don't we just you know what I mean? For blah blah blah. Not only did he push through, but he's doing it in the most visible way possible. He's like not in the way that he could like say that he did it, but keep it over here so you can keep the Latinos in your good graces. Like in the most visible, like with the photo ops, with Kristi Noem, with the ice hat and the Gators in Florida, with it's like. So I'm intrigued, going into, I'm intrigued going into at least 26, but certainly 28, assuming we have elections. I'm intrigued about what the ramifications will be for that demographic, because as it relates to Black people, if they actually move with a level of accountability for their own vote, but also responsibility for each other, they will have to shift significantly, which would affect the way that they approach Black voters then.
Well, one, Republicans have never been, really in practice outwardly great for the Latin community, and they have been traditionally conservative by nature in that a lot of them have voted Republican traditionally for a very long time. But I think we're in a unique political situation because the other dumb thing that people did is that it's really stupid to elect a one-term president who also isn't tied to the political establishment. He's not part of the political establishment. He's not part of the Republican political establishment traditionally. So like how he leaves the Republican Party really doesn't matter to him. And so, whomever the Republicans run after this will be able to brand themselves as a new person. They'll be able to rebrand the party if they need to, and unless, if the economy is in the tank, like it looks like it's going to certainly be, that'll swing things in the other direction. But otherwise, the Republican brand will still be able to push forward after this. Things that are happening with this bill are kind of crazy. It is hurting them. So we'll see. It depends on how far they go. That's depends on how far they go along to get along. And far more people and institutions than I thought have been willing to go along to get along. That's been blowing my mind.
Well, so that's kind of like a commentary that I did the other day where I said, I feel like, now, actually, let me ask you this question. Do you think that the character of the country, right? The voting populace, clearly the voting populace is as uneducated as ever by virtue of all of the ways in which people can get them misinformation and disinformation, and some networks that are dedicated to it just pumping them constantly for decades, right? So that is the thing that's happened, right? Is the voting population has been dumbed down. But I have my default is to think that things are cyclical and that the nature of people doesn't really necessarily change. Circumstances change, but my default position is that the nature of things don't change. Like, I'm very slow to say we've never seen this, or we're, very slow to say that. That being said, I look at Donald Trump and I'm like, there's been a lot of draft dodging, trust fund baby felons with bankruptcies on their third family who wanted to have power. Like, it's been a lot of them. Mm-hmm. None of them were ever to get remotely close to even any political office at all, but especially not the White House. None of them were able to rise to that level because of the myriad of gates where their behavior would have been considered disqualifying. Mm-hmm. But yet we exist in this space where none of that was the case. None of these people were willing to stand up, or at least not a critical mass. So few of them that the ones that do get made an example of, and then you pick me to not be made an example of, which continues to empower him, right? Mm-hmm. So it gives me the question of, it becomes like a chicken or the egg thing, because I'm like, we give Trump, or not, I don't say we, but Trump gets the lion's share of the fingers pointed at him for, quote, what he's done to America. But I'm like, maybe these, the self-interest on Capitol Hill and the dumbing down of the population and the hatefulness of a large part of the population are all things that kind of clicked into place that then allowed him to rise to this. You know what I mean? It kind of becomes like a chicken or the egg thing that I was thinking about recently, where I'm like, maybe are the people that have allowed this to happen, have they degraded all of the systems that would have prevented this in the past? Or is this really a manipulation that Donald Trump has done? You get what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. It's a combination, but it's certainly not exclusive to what Donald Trump is able to do, though he's uniquely positioned because he got in there a first time and was stymied to a large extent with a lot of things, and has been able to learn from that and come back significantly more prepared. But it really, I think the underlying factor is the systemic undereducation of the population and the continued kind of erosion of kind of positive moral and cultural cohesive fabric of the country. It's one of the things I was saying to somebody the other day as I was listening to him speak, and I was saying, it's so wild to me that he is able to be in this position and be this unprepared and this unintelligent. He speaks like somebody who did not do the reading or has not finished their homework, or he's writing a paper having not read the book. And I know this because, though I think I did a better job with it, this is how I sounded and how I wrote things when I did not do my homework or when I didn't read the book. Like, I think my vocabulary and syntax is superior, but I recognize it. But the issue is just that we've gotten to a point generationally where that is how a lot of people talk and think, and that is how, or they're operating on even a less of an educated level and a lower level of sophistication. And the people who are their bosses or the people who they see as in positions of power talk and operate like this. And the more you create a kind of this hyper capitalist culture where you're willing to sell anything, sell your integrity to win, anything to make a dollar, these things become celebrated. And the more we celebrate them on smaller levels, the easier it is for people to accept them on larger levels. And then also there's just that overall arching thing where the harder and more kind of pressurized you make people's day-to-day living situations, the more they're willing to blindly just be like, what's the other thing? I can't afford this. I don't have time to do that. I'm about to be kicked out of this. There's no healthcare. What's the other thing? Not this.
The disconnect between me being up here having these conversations and going down and seeing my daughter with her crown and her nightgown is no different than the 9 to 5 working class MAGA who praises the dude that was born with the 400 million because he would he would have only let you into Mar-a-Lago to do work and then he wouldn't have paid you. That's the only relationship you ever would have had.
But he was anti-establishment. He was from the outside. And so that he was not responsible. He was not currently responsible for what was happening to them. And so they were like, him, I'll buy the con. I'm willing to buy the con. I'm even willing to say, you know what? He generally cons. I know that, but I like what he's saying. I think this might be, and it's the fact that now, even at this point, some people are still like, but it's okay. Tariffs aren't taxes.
My favorite, I don't know.
Iran might get a nuke.
I don't know if you were following this last week. This was one of my favorites. I made a video about it, but this is one of my favorites. So he drops the bombs on Iran, then comes out and says they was obliterated. Then they get the leak.
His language is wild.
Then they get the leak that they weren't obliterated and that they had moved all the stuff and this, that, and the other thing. So they come out and they say, no, that report was wrong. That report was we have low information, low quality information because the stuff was underground, like this, that, and the other thing. So you want to tell me that the report had low confidence that came out after you said it was that was after you said it was obliterated. So that means whatever information you said it was obliterated was less than that. So, but we can't just as a country even connect those dots to make that as punitive as it clearly. That would have ended a career before. Maybe not the president's career, but like that would have ended. Hegseth would have got packed up back in the day.
We're in a new stage. We're in a new stage.
Anyway, one thing I will tell you, I like to get people out of here at 9:30 so they choose to come back. You sent me a ton of relationship stuff that was really good. So we need to do a Way of Waters. I got the other channel, the Way of Waters. That's where I'm peaceful. And that's where I go when I yell my voice out, and I gotta. So that's where I go with my meditation and whatnot. If you're down, we need to do one on that channel as well.
Yeah, we can do that.
I try and be nonpartisan. I am nonpartisan. I don't talk no politics on that one. But what do you have? Is there anything pop culture that you wanted to throw out?
Nah, I mean there was nothing.
They're about to get the Diddy verdict. I know that wasn't on nobody's list, but that's what I'm seeing on CNN.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Pop culture wise, I wasn't even sure what was really going on. Other than more Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese nonsense, and I refuse to engage with any of that.
Yeah.
So
Nelly has reaffirmed his magadom, and that he's performing for the 4th. So there's that. People talking about Nelly and Ashanti. Apparently,
I did see some clips. Yeah, he. That's also he doesn't change diapers. That's right.
Right.
Were you
I
ever
don't wanna,
were you tempted to lay down the law at any point?
no, I don't blame him. I don't blame him on that one. That's fine. You can get away with that one. That's fine. I'm just wondering why. So Nelly performed at inauguration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the community went crazy on Nelly for participating in, the coronation and the farce and this, that, whatever. And now here we are, 6 months. 6 months. It's been 6 months. The only thing we've really heard from Nelly was a terrible attempt to diffuse the situation where he basically doubled down. The Snoop got so much more smoke than Nelly, and Snoop basically said, "I was just trying to get a bag, but I'm still with y'all." Nelly was like, "I'm with them." Nelly was like, he tried to keep the mask on just to keep the gravy train going, but basically said, "Nah, I'm Maga." And you mean to tell me that 6 months later, y'all gonna have Nelly and Ashanti hashtag trending when he got a reality show? Like, that's all that was it. That was it. Y'all right back. That was it.
They disagree with his choice to do that, but I'm going down, baby. See it in a Range Rover street. The tracks was hot. Great memories. He provided great memories. They're good with it.
It was all right.
Great memories. Whether you think the tracks were fire or not, great memories. Oh, great memories.
Oh, okay, fine. I can't say it. Yeah, now I'm not gonna act like I go back. Somebody said Tim said they eat Nelly up about this Ashanti thing. I think they might be more mad about that. I think they might be.
I'm sure.
There's that meme out of the dude dancing with the fan, and it said World War III about to start, black people, and this dude's doing where them fans at. It's just a bunch of dudes. It's a bunch of dudes in the backyard dancing. That's black people when World War III is about to start, which I laughed at and thought was true. And this is the other side of it. I'm like, no, because and then you wonder, like what you said, why parties don't have to feel beholden to us in any particular way. I mean, we can't even hold on. I mean, we hold the like the Byron Donalds and the Tim Scotts. The people that I guess you can't go too hard into black negative. There is such a thing as too hard, but once we establish the relationship, then all of a sudden you get the freedom to come and go.
We got real issues, brother. we got real issues.
Yeah. I wonder what the source is. I'm concerned about leaving the country. And that was the last real conversation that we had. I'm concerned about leaving the country for a vacation because of how wild they acting at the border. That was never a problem before. So yes, we do have real problems. Where they come from? Not saying we didn't have problems before, but we got shit now.
But the black community, we have particular internal problems. It's just like we do. We have a lot of significant external problems. But we have our own inabilities to just get together, to align and coordinate. We have real problems with that.
So I'm not going to bring this up because this is a whole conversation, but I had put on the list the Pan-Africans versus the FBAs.
No, it's not Pan-Africans. It's FBAs versus everybody else. And I do want to talk. We're going to have to set up a time because I do want to talk to you about that. I want to ask you about your people because that's just been ticking me off.
I just want to say, so first of all, before FBAs was a thing, and by the way, Cam James.
Oh, you said Pan-Africans. Okay, I got you.
I said Pan-Africans, yeah. Okay. Cam James video that he just put out. I haven't finished the whole thing. I've watched like half of it. is amazing. So if you guys haven't gotten a chance, check that out. Foreign is in it. It's really good. It talks about a lot of the immersion of FBA and Tariq Nasheed and stuff like that. Before FBA was a thing, do you remember what I used to say when we was in college? Because my best friends in college are you and a dude named Justin Benjamin. Shout out to Justin. Both of whom are Jamaican, right? And I think that Jason, who's another friend of mine, also had Caribbean roots. So me feeling left out used to just say Southern blacks. You remember Southern blacks? I used to call myself a Southern black because I couldn't go beyond the Carolinas.
Needed a place to call home.
I needed a place to call home. I used to call myself the Southern blacks. And I'll be honest, a lot because I spent so much time with y'all, I developed a strong sense of envy with the fact that you could actually have pride in another country and culture that celebrated blackness specifically, like a specific brand of blackness. Like I can't wear a black South Carolina shirt. You know what I mean? That doesn't exist, right? So I had a certain amount of envy towards y'all, only for this whole FBA movement to rise up. I was like, oh, y'all doing all of that?
Exactly.
Y'all doing all of that? I didn't call for all that. I didn't.
The second I started seeing that pop up in like a real divisive way, I was just like, why can't we? All right.
Good night, Anna Marie. Good night. All right. Django's
Anna Marie's like, wrap it up.
Yeah. What color is the guest shirt? It looks like black with blue lettering. All right, let's go through these last couple. I mean, we need to be equitable. F. Moskovitz, Fetterman, et al., and shame on the DNC for not supporting Crockett. I agree certainly wholeheartedly with them not supporting a great number of people. I'm from Queens, NYC. They don't want Jasmine Crockett. Yep, they have kind of made that apparent. Thank you, Deshauna. Thank you for that, Deshauna. Thank you to Tammy. Yeah, Tim, I appreciate the warning, Tim. I think we navigated out of it. I think we navigated out of it. Y'all making baby Jesus in the manger week. Where's the 500K? Where's my phone? But we got. We are now at 499, 631. Yeah, I'm gonna be asleep. I'm gonna be asleep. I'm new to your channel. Recently, enjoy your comments. Thank you, Peaches and Cream. Much appreciated. Thank you. Racism is a hell of a drug. Absolutely. Do you know how many times I've wanted to use that Rick James cocaine is a hell of a drug? I've wanted to use that so many times in videos, and I can't allow myself to do it because
copyright.
I just don't want to get in trouble saying nobody on cocaine.
Okay.
So Nelly was talking about Kamala. When you say he want to change diapers? He ain't talking about Kamala. Nelly was. You mean when Nelly was trying to defend himself? Nelly was talking about Kamala. He's trying to defend himself. All right. Be on the lookout for the video coming out tomorrow. It should be the Crockett Waters video, but I got hella backups in the truck just in case. It might be They Should Be Kissing Black Ass. That'll be my backup. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That Angelina Castro. Did you see that?
Nah.
In this conversation between the Latin delegation and the Black delegation been squabbling.
Oh, yeah.
And the Latin delegation apparently feels abandoned by the Black delegation. The Black delegation was like, word?
Deal with your anti-blackness.
Like November? Word?
Deal with your anti-blackness and come see us in the morning.
And so Angelina Castro, who I guess is like a big influencer online, happened to go on this rant admonishing the anti-blackness in the Latin community and saying they should be kissing black ass. And it was revealed to me after the fact that I knew that name, Angelina Castro, from my backsliding days. I probably got a couple I probably got a couple of them Maxells down there. Right. with Angelina. I didn't know that.
Where's that Troubled Waters tweet? Where's that Troubled Waters? Put it up again, bro.
Oh no, man, Brandon, you would actually be very proud of me because whenever anything remotely like this has come up, I've been very transparent. I said, look, I'm the last one to judge. Okay, I am the kid at 13 whose parents threatened to take the door off the hinges. Okay, so yeah, enjoy yourself.
All right.
Good night. Don't hurt nobody.
enjoy yourself.
Don't hurt nobody.
Enjoy this responsibly.
Yeah,
enjoy responsibly.
So that might be the backup. That would be the backup if we don't get the Crockett video out. But in any event, those probably be the next two, in addition to the Byron video. But of course, they will always give us a reason. Miss Ray, if anybody had any good suggestions on MAGA patriotism, examples of MAGA patriotism, definitely shoot me those. If you guys have any more, you can drop them in the comments. Obviously, follow Brandon at Brandon V. Dixon on all social media. And then on my way out, shout out to Michael, TP, Tammy, Giggles, Shay Money, Kristen, Cassie, Jessica, Karen, Treva, 80%, Tammy, Michael, Bonita, Chad, shout out to you, Sin, Sonia, Chaotic, Nicole, Deshauna. We got Tammy again. We got Tim. We got Peaches. We got Lee. We got Nicole. Oh, and Leader One. Welcome. Lead Foon. Welcome, Lead Foon. Well, look, when I wake up tomorrow, we will probably be at 500. So that means you got a new video ending that's coming in. And be on the lookout for notifications for a special members live this weekend. And I guess we got a Way of Waters live coming when Brandon can sit down again. We got a Way of Waters live. If you enjoyed this one, check him out at Brandon V. Dixon and check him out coming soon to Way of Waters. And for those of you in Troubled Waters, y'all can go back to the old joints, the old joints, the archive that is still up. For all you guys in Troubled Waters, have access to that one. So shout out to y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with me on this Tuesday night. And I will see y'all tomorrow at the premiere. Shout out and thanks for joining me, man. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
Soak your feet.